The universe was once ruled by strong divine and they decided visit humans in Earth, some place inside the sea. A strong god known as Poseidon has chosen to visit the city of humanity, as an uncommon unsettling influence has constrained him to come towards the shore. The god at last changes into his human structure and rapidly makes it towards the city, where he covertly goes onto the domain state building and sees that his sibling Zeus has been sitting tight for him this entire time. Zeus told Poseidon that he has lost his most prominent weapon known as the lightning bolt, and he blames Poseidon's and his children to be the criminal who took the item. This makes the god become incensed, as he denies the allegations right away, yet Zeus will not tune in and requests that his weapon be returned in some days, or he'll be compelled to begin a horrible conflict simultaneously. Poseidon's half-human kid known as Percy Jackson, who is inside a lecture of a gallery close by his companion called Grover. As they stand by listening to their teacher discuss the historical backdrop of antiquated Greece, nonetheless, before the class can get done, Percy Jackson is moved toward by another instructor, who requests that they talk secretly. This gives Percy Jackson no other decision except for to go inside the neighboring room, while he right away noticed that the lady has some way or another hopped onto the frameworks close by. What's surprisingly more terrible, the instructor rapidly changes into a horrendous evil spirit, who goes after Percy Jackson and blaming him for taking the lightning bolt. Fortunately, the beasts try to attack Percy Jackson. The battle is immediately hindered by the man's educator, who takes steps to kill the beast immediately. This makes the foe discharge the fundamental person in dread. As it surges out from the fabricating right away, it's immediately discovered that Zeus is chasing down the primary person. Furthermore, the teacher must choose the option to give Percy Jackson a strong weapon. While advising Grover to bring his companion towards the camp for half-divine beings, individuals at last make it onto the streets close by Percy Jackson's mom, and the lady uncovers to her child that his dad is really the Lord of the Ocean. Nonetheless, Poseidon was not permitted to remain with his family, as Zeus restricted the divine beings from truly being along with their human kids. This implies that Poseidon can never help the primary person straightforwardly, and the main spot that can safeguard him currently is the camp for divine beings, where beasts are kept outside by the mysterious hindrance and they don't know that they are also being trailed by a Goliath animal, who tosses a cow on the vehicle, while making the vehicle crush towards the ground from the effect. Fortunately, individuals figure out how to endure the accident, while Grover ultimately uncovers that he's really a satyr, as he breaks the windshield and permitting everybody to escape from the vehicle. Notwithstanding, before individuals can escape from this area, they rapidly see that the Goliath beast is surging their direction, and compelling them to run frantically towards the inverse bearing. Individuals figure out how to make it towards the camp's entry, as they promptly rush towards within, yet, Percy Jackson rapidly noticed that the mysterious hindrance is halting his mom from entering the place of refuge. This makes the lady be caught by the Goliath beast, who uncovers itself to be a huge minotaur that rapidly magically transports the human towards an alternate aspect. Percy Jackson sees this and chooses to take out his weapon, as he starts battling the Goliath beast to attempt to save his mom, yet just moves thumped away like a flying rag doll, and nearly killed by the monstrous foe. Notwithstanding, the battle in the end brings about the minotaur breaking its own horn, and Percy Jackson figures out how to rapidly take out the article while cutting the beast directly in the chest, and killing the Goliath animal subsequently, yet additionally making himself faint from the pressure of the fight. At the point when Percy Jackson ultimately recovers awareness, he understands that he's inside an emergency clinic while being looked after by Grover, who compliments the person for as yet being alive. In any case, Percy Jackson has zero desire to remain inside the camp, as he frantically needs to go search for his mom. Yet, Grover lets the man know that he ought to prepare to become more grounded prior to going out for his mission. The two shows up towards the edges of the island, and Percy Jackson is stunned to see that his instructor who saved him before is really a centaur called Chiron, who's too accountable for the instructional courses. And the teacher has the ideal plan to start preparing Percy Jackson. The centaur rapidly assembles every one of the divine beings inside this area, while relegating Percy Jackson towards the blue group that is being driven by a man called Luke, who invites Percy Jackson towards his gathering. The preparation starts as the rival groups attempt to catch the adversaries' banners, while the demi-divine beings start battling like it's a genuine fight. Fortunately, Percy Jackson figures out how to make it out safe close by Luke, as they attempt to search for the rival's banner, yet individuals are immediately trapped by the rival group, which powers them to quickly battle. Nonetheless, the two are immediately dwarfed by the foes, while Luke is compelled to forfeit himself to keep down the rivals, and allowing Percy Jackson the opportunity to escape from the snare. This permits the primary person to ultimately make it towards a stream, as he rapidly noticed that the foe banner is right across the water without even batting an eye. Percy Jackson rapidly goes towards the adversary's base to guarantee his triumph. In any case, is promptly come by a lady called Annabeth, who starts going after Percy Jackson without kindness. This powers Percy Jackson to retaliate immediately. However, he is totally overwhelmed by his rival, who at last thumps Percy Jackson onto the ground, while every one individuals start supporting the young lady's name. Notwithstanding, Percy Jackson will not be crushed with such ease, as he starts creeping towards the stream by sense, and the man is stunned to see that the water is really mending every one of the injuries on his body. What's much more, Percy Jackson starts to feel an extraordinary power flooding through his body, as he starts going after the foe group and effectively crushing every one of the rivals at the same time. This makes Annabeth charge advances and assault Percy Jackson irately. However, Percy Jackson figures out how to incapacitate the young lady right away, while totally crushing her simultaneously. Individuals sees this and all starts withdrawing in accommodation, while permitting Percy Jackson to recover the banner and winning the opposition 2 at times later. Every one of the divine beings are celebrating after the competition, while Percy Jackson has acquired a ton of prominence after his triumph, particularly among the women. However, the man is plainly a lover of self-flagellation, as he just is by all accounts keen on the young lady who practically killed him during the opposition. Before the two can sort out an opportunity to do some sleep time works out, they are rapidly hindered by a noxious element known as Abaddon, who has come to chase down Percy Jackson. As he starts tossing fireballs towards the group and causing bedlam in the process, it's immediately uncovered that Abaddon was the person who sent the Minotaur to hijack Percy Jackson's mother. And the malevolent god believes Percy Jackson should give him Zeus' lightning bolt in return for the lady's life. This gives him no other decision except for to go salvage his mom, regardless of never having the lightning bolt in any case. Fortunately, Percy Jackson's new companions have chosen to assist Percy Jackson too, while Annabeth claims that there's just a single person who can assist them with sneaking inside the domain of Gehenna, which is otherwise called the Hidden World. Individuals show up towards Luke's home, and it's immediately uncovered that the man is actually the child of Hermes, and he has various antiques from his dad that can help the group track down their direction towards Gehenna. This incorporates a couple of flying shoes that can assist them with suspending, and a strong safeguard that can safeguard the clients from all components. Notwithstanding, the most troublesome errand is really leaving the domain in the wake of entering the Hidden World, as they need a unique pearl for every individual to magically transport away from the area. A while later, they figure out how to show up towards the objective where the principal pearl is found. Furthermore, the gathering is amazed to see the various sculptures remaining inside the structure. What's much more, the group at last finds a wellspring that is loaded up with gold coins that just the old Greeks utilized, implying that individuals should be extremely close in seeing as the pearl. Also, the group in the end chooses to separate to cover more grounds, while they start taking note that the articulations on the figures are turning out to be more frightening. Annabeth finds someone else inside the structure, who tells her that they are in horrendous peril, as need might arise to promptly move away from this area in A. Before individuals can get to the leave, they are immediately come by a strange lady and conceals, who uncovers that she was liable for transforming every one of her guests into stone. It just so happens, the lady is known as Medusa, and she was reviled by the divine beings with a horrendous power, as anyone who glimpses inside her eyes would be frozen always, while being turned into only a sculpture. This makes Annabeth shut her eyes right away, while Medusa attempts constantly to turn her into stone. Fortunately, the young lady is immediately tracked down by her partners, as Percy Jackson figures out how to divert their adversary and making the beast pursue him angrily, while Grover takes the risk to salvage Annabeth by liberating her from the model that is holding her arm. Simultaneously, Percy Jackson keeps on taking off from the foe who's pursuing behind steadily. However, he's immediately deceived by the revolting beast, who figures out how to bring down the sculptures right on top of Percy Jackson. This in the end permits the adversary to catch the man, as she attempts to get into Percy Jackson's eyes while compelling Percy to remain here until the end of time. Fortunately, before the demigod can be killed by the beast, a truck charges towards them immediately. While thumping the adversary onto the ground, it shows that the others have acted the hero, their companion, as they make do to daze the beast briefly, and permitting Percy Jackson to charge advances while cutting off the adversary's head. This permits them to at last emerge from the vehicle, as they see the beast's head on the floor, and the group chooses to accept the foe's remaining parts as a weapon to be involved against their foes later on. What's much more, Percy Jackson figures out how to see the pearl that is situated on Medusa's armband, while taking the enchanted article that permits them to escape from the Hidden World. Individuals start going towards their next objective by following the charmed map, and in the end shows up towards a monster gallery for the old divine beings. At the point when the gathering in the end makes it inside the structure, they rapidly notice that the second pearl is found straightforwardly on top of the Goliath sculpture's head, and that truly intends that they need to some way or another trip the model to recover the item. This powers people to hold on until dusk, while they covertly sneak inside the monster exhibition hall, however just to figure out that the janitors are as yet cleaning the structure's floors. Fortunately, Annabeth figures out how to evoke an arrangement, as she starts shooting her dozing darts towards the specialists, and taking out individuals from the shadows. The group sees this and quickly takes out the flying shoes from Luke, while Percy Jackson runs towards the monster sculpture and starts suspending towards the model's head. This permits the fundamental person to take hold of the slanting surface, as he gradually climbs towards the Goliath crown, and at last figuring out how to remove the pearl from the model, while arriving onto the ground in triumph, before individuals can leave the structure. they are quickly come by the janitors that have some way or another recaptured cognizance, who starts talking in synchronization towards the group, and requesting them to return the lightning bolt. The specialists are really beasts in mask, as they start divulging their actual structure as a gigantic hydra, and totally overshadowing everyone individuals. The group sees this and attempts frantically to quickly make tracks, while the beast shoots flares towards them and making Percy Jackson drop the pearl simultaneously. This powers the demi-divine beings to take out their weapons, as they attempt to retaliate the beast from behind the cover. Be that as it may, Percy Jackson figures out how to find an opening while at the same time charging towards the foe's various heads, and avoiding the flamethrowers simultaneously. Percy Jackson figures out how to ultimately cut across the foe's neck, as he starts cutting off the beast's heads while causing huge harm towards the animal, and making the Goliath snake fall onto the ground. Notwithstanding, not long before individuals can commend their triumph, they rapidly notice that something is off base, as the immense beast starts recuperating quickly and developing considerably more heads in the process, while turning out to be significantly more remarkable than at any other time. This powers the group to change their technique, as Annabeth surges advances to occupy the beast by shooting her bolts, while allowing Percy Jackson the opportunity to recover the mysterious pearl. Be that as it may, the beast figures out how to stop Percy Jackson and catching the diving being behind the model by utilizing its destructive blazes. Fortunately, not long before Percy Jackson is killed, Percy Jackson starts detecting his power coming from the drinking fountains, and figures out how to invoke a monstrous wave towards the Goliath beast, while driving the snake to fall back right away. The demigod sees this and rapidly figures out how to recover the pearl, as he starts running away close by his companions, yet just to figure out that the entryways towards the outside have been locked all along. This gives them no other decision except for to straightforwardly take out Medusa's head and focuses it towards the monster snake, while making the foe become a huge figure all the while and permitting the demi-divine beings to win the fight. The group chooses to go on towards their next objective to recover the last pearl, as they make it towards the Lotus Club inside the city. Notwithstanding, when individuals enter inside the beautiful structure, they are immediately halted by a lot of servers who offers them lotus cakes to eat free of charge without even batting an eye. Individuals start devouring the food immediately, and begins feeling an unusual sensation, which makes them totally disregard their journey to look for the pearl. This makes the gathering become hypnotized by the various diversions inside the working, as their persistent utilizations of the lotus blossom is keeping them entranced from the real world. Percy Jackson figures out how to coincidentally find the pearl on the betting table, which causes him to recollect their actual reason for coming here in any case, as he rejects to consume the lotus blossoms anymore. Understanding that they succumb to the foe's snare, Percy Jackson rapidly goes towards his companions and attempts to stir individuals from the daze, while let the group know that they should move away from this area right away. This makes individuals run towards the ways out immediately, as the protections attempt frantically to prevent the gathering from leaving the structure. However, the demi-divine beings figure out how to fend off the adversaries easily, and permitting Percy Jackson to take hold of the otherworldly pearl simultaneously. The gathering figures out how to promptly make it towards a show vehicle and surges inside, prior to driving the vehicle off the stage and crashing straightforwardly through the front entryways, which rapidly permits them to escape away from this living bad dream. Notwithstanding, before individuals can leave the city, they rapidly understand that they have been stuck inside the gambling club for several days, and they just a short time before the divine beings begin the awful conflict. The gathering figure out how to track down their last objective by utilizing the guide. As they show up towards the renowned mountain, it's uncovered that the entryway towards the home of Abaddon is found right behind the mountain, as a strange entry shows up on the ground. This permits the gathering to wander inside, as they show up towards a room that is loaded up with skeletons, while they see the notorious element who's accountable for taking dead spirits towards the hidden world. The gathering figure out how to pay the individual with the brilliant coins from Medusa's refuge, which permits them to get inside the boat. As they adventure towards the other aspect that is loaded up with wretchedness and demise, individuals are got in front of a huge palace that has a place with Gehenna, while the gathering gradually gets off the boat with their weapons drawn, and cautiously enters inside the strange structure. Nonetheless, the group experiences a couple of forceful hellhounds that threatens to kill individuals right away. However, they are saved by the spouse of Abaddon, who's otherwise called Persephone. Shockingly, the lady has no aims of hurting her visitors, as she chooses to bring individuals towards her better half, who uncovers himself to be the ruler of the hidden world, as he requests Percy Jackson to take out the thunderclap immediately. Nonetheless, Percy Jackson denies to have at any point taken the weapon from Zeus, which makes Gehenna end up being enraged, as he delivers Percy Jackson's mother, so that the demigod can watch the lady bite the dust. Percy Jackson sees this and drops his weapons on the ground as he races to embrace the lady. However, Gehenna sees that the lightning bolt was concealing inside Percy Jackson's safeguard this entire time. This permits the shrewd god to at last acquire the mystical weapon, as he turns out to be significantly more strong all the while. and the gathering understand that Luke was the person who took the lightning bolt from the divine beings. Be that as it may, regardless of at last getting what he needed, Abaddon has no expectations of letting individuals go free, as he anticipates taking the spirits of the detainees while killing them all in the process. Not long before the gathering is pushed inside the blazes, Persephone deceives her spouse and removes the lightning bolt, as she releases a strong impact towards Abaddon and thumping him onto the walls like a flying ragdoll. This permits the others to be saved from the flares, as they rush behind the goddess, promptly to battle. However, Persephone lets them know that she's not their adversary. It's uncovered that the lady has needed retribution against her better half for an extremely lengthy time, as Gehenna was liable for removing her from her family, while catching her inside the hidden world for incalculable years. Shockingly, the lady returns the lightning bolt towards Percy Jackson, as she believes Percy Jackson should keep the divine beings from beginning the conflict also. Notwithstanding, before individuals can leave this area, they understand that they as it were have 3 otherworldly pearls, and that implies that one individual needs to remain behind. Incredibly, Grover volunteers to remain inside the hidden world, as he plainly cares about to have some sleep time practices with Satan's better half. Individuals place their singular pearls onto the ground prior to stepping on the articles, which makes them be at last magically transported away from this world, and in the long run returning the people onto the realm state building, which is associated straightforwardly towards the sky. Not long before the gathering can make it towards the entry, they are halted by a flying foe who ends up being Luke. It's uncovered that he was really the genius behind all that occurred, as he believes the divine beings should obliterate themselves, so his age can turn into the new leaders of humankind. The miscreant starts going after Percy Jackson from the sky, as he attempts to prevent Percy Jackson from returning the lightning bolt, and figures out how to kick the demigod towards the ground while taking the mystical weapon simultaneously. This permits Luke to turn out to be much more impressive, as he starts shooting destroying energy radiates towards individuals, while causing enormous blasts simultaneously. The miscreant sees this and takes a risk to get away, not understanding that Percy Jackson still has the flying shoes too, which permits the primary person to pursue the foe towards the sky. This makes the 2 mythical beings crash together overhead, as they battle frantically to acquire the lightning bolt, yet Luke gained the benefit while thumping Percy Jackson away. Utilizing gigantic power, Percy Jackson recuperates from the assault, yet is compelled to get away from inside a high rise, while the adversary is pursuing intently behind. Nonetheless, Percy Jackson figures out how to pivot the fight, as he dispatches towards the rival from the side, while making Luke drop the lightning bolt in the cycle. This permits the fundamental person to at long last acquire the enchanted weapon, as he attempts to fly back towards his companions, yet they are gone after by the adversary from behind, which causes Percy Jackson tumbles from the sky while crash arriving onto a structure. Things become much more dreadful when the foe figures out how to recover the lightning bolt indeed, while constraining Percy Jackson into a corner. Not long before Percy Jackson can be killed, he starts utilizing his powers, as he brings influxes of water from the strained tanks and sending off the fluid straightforwardly towards Luke, while thumping down the foe utilizing huge power. This makes the rival be totally crushed simultaneously. However, Luke figures out how to get up, as he will not lose the battle with such ease. Percy Jackson sees this and requests his pike from the water, as he dispatches the weapon straightforwardly towards the adversary, and tossing the man colliding with the sea. This permits Percy Jackson to take the lightning bolt back towards his companions, as he goes inside the mystery entrance that drives individuals straightforwardly towards different divine beings. Not long before Zeus chooses to at last completion the Armageddon commencement, Percy Jackson makes do to show up in the nick of time and return the lightning bolt towards its original owner, while making sense of that Luke was the person who took the weapon in any case, as he maintained that the divine beings should obliterate themselves. This causes individuals to understand their own absurdity, as they fall back in examination. Yet again, while Percy Jackson's father at long last has the opportunity to meet his youngster, the god apologizes for never being by Percy Jackson's side, yet communicates the amount he really cherishes his child, and figuring out how to accommodate with Percy Jackson. Now and again later, Percy Jackson returns to the camp, and is astounded to see that Grover has gotten back to the human world, in the wake of having many energizing sleep time works out with the spouse of Abaddon. What's much more, Percy Jackson appears to have at last tracked down a genuine justification behind remaining inside this camp too, as they start preparing to shield the human world from future risks. The end. If you like this story, please subscribe to the channel and like it to motivate me to bring you more stories like this.